Now tell us how Peter made his way here to Joppa. When I think of Peter, I think of Galilee, I think of Jerusalem, when I think of Peter in the early church, but how did he make his way here to Joppa?
Well, let's remember that Jaffa in the years of Peter actually was a Gentile city, so he had no business over here in Jaffa. Where did he go? He went to Lod, as written in the Bible, and going into Lod, he gets this messenger coming up to him and saying to him, listen, we need you to run to Jaffa. There's this young girl, a righteous girl in the name of Tabitha, who's fallen dead, and we need you to try and cure her. The word spread that Peter continued the same mission that Jesus did, and that's curing people, being a healer. He did that before coming to Lod. He did that in Jerusalem when he healed quite a few people. So the word came out, and he was called over here into Jaffa, and he apparently ends up in the house of Simon the Tanner, which we're heading to right now. And Eric, we just made it to the house of Simon the Tanner, as some people believe. This is it. Let's go.
This is it. Wow. Jamie, for me, this is a very special moment as a Gentile follower of Jesus, because right here, as we've been talking about, the house of Simon the Tanner on the roof, Peter falls into the deep trance, sees a vision from God. Arise, Peter, kill and eat. Peter says, not so, Lord. I'm a Jew. I can't eat anything considered unclean. And God says, no, what I have cleansed, do not call unclean. On this very roof where we're going right now, Jamie, Peter wakes up. He gets a knock on the door, and it's some emissaries from a certain Roman, very influential Roman centurion named Cornelius. And they say, hey, our boss, in a sense, Cornelius, has had a vision from God, and he wants to meet you. So what happens next? Now Peter goes up to Caesarea, he meets Cornelius, and he sees that, okay, now the Gentiles, we're allowed to take the gospel to the Gentile world. For me, Jamie, I mentioned this is very special because I quite literally would not be standing here as a Gentile follower of Jesus if this never happened. If Peter didn't have that vision, there's a good chance that, look, Christianity would have never spread from the shores of the land of Israel elsewhere. Tell us why Joppa, in that sense, was so important as a gateway. We talked about it being a gateway to Jerusalem, but a gateway to the world.
It is a gateway, Eric. It's the gateway to Jerusalem. It's a gateway from Egypt to Mesopotamia up north, to that northern empire, the Via Maris, the international ancient way. But it's also a gateway out. Out in what sense? Out when Peter is able to spread out the message of Christianity to the Gentiles, to the world.
That encounter. Cornelius has a vision. Peter, right here on the roof of the house we're standing in front of, Jamie, very likely, has that vision. The two come together just north of here in Caesarea, and boom. Gentiles all of a sudden realize, hey, we're grafted in, and the Jewish believers say, okay, Gentiles are not unclean. They can be a part of this, Jesus movement in that time. And then the Apostle Paul takes it, and the rest is history, I guess you would say.
And it's all written over here, the book of Acts.
But that's not all that's in the book of Acts. We have the story of Tabitha and Peter. Fill us in a little bit on that.
Well, Peter, as we stated earlier on, will come to Jaffa after he was called by messengers coming from Jaffa to Lod, where he was stationed, which is only 4 hours east from where we are now. He was called in. As we said before, he was known to perform miracles.
And there was a crisis here.
There was a crisis. We had a young, righteous girl in the name of Tabitha on the roof of Simon the Tanner, as believed, and he will walk up and he will rise her from the dead.
If you don't mind, I'd love to read that verse, that description there.
Please, the book of Acts.
In your beautiful Bible here. And at the time, the Bible says here in the book of Acts, Jamie, chapter 9, verses 30 to 43, the Bible talks about there being great distress here. Tabitha was just a great woman of God, as you said, just loved and respected among all the followers of Jesus here in Jaffa. She died unexpectedly. There was weeping, there was sorrow, the Bible says. And then Peter walks in. I'm going to pick it up at verse 40 here in chapter 9 of Acts. But Peter put them all forth and kneeled down and prayed, and turning to the body said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes, and when she saw Peter, she sat up. And he gave her his hand and lifted her up. And when he had called the saints and widows presented her alive, and it was known throughout all Jaffa, and many believed in the Lord. Amazing stuff right here in front of us, and we're standing here now. So,
But it doesn't end over here.
it's not the end of the story. Maybe in terms of biblical mentions of Jaffa, okay, that's it. But there's much more to the story, which we're going to get into at our next location.
Let's do it.
Take us there, my friend.